Before performing maintenance procedures, disconnect and lock out all power to the conveyor at the main disconnect, located in the control panel, and padlock it in the off position. This will prevent accidental startup of the conveyor during maintenance. Before performing maintenance procedures, disconnect and lock out all power to the conveyor. To gain access to the chains for maintenance, chain guards and side guards must be removed. Here, guards are being removed using a 7/16 socket wrench. The first platform can then be moved into the lowest position for removal. Be certain the power is disconnected and locked out before removing the platform. The platform is fastened to the chain with 8 bolts. There are 2 bolts located at each corner of the platform, as shown here. When all bolts are removed, the platform is ready to be pulled from the chains. Work gloves should be worn when handling the platform. Repeat this procedure until all platforms are removed. To make the connecting links of the chain easy to remove, some slack must be put in the chain. The chains are loosened by adjusting these bolts on the take-ups. First, the jam nut must be loosened. The take-up nut is loosened next. To put slack in the chain, the take-up nut must be turned clockwise. Repeat this procedure on the take-up on the opposite side of the machine. The chain should have approximately this much slack in it to make the removal easy. The connecting links and the connecting blocks are now ready to be removed. These are the blocks to which the platform is bolted. There is 1 block per chain for each platform. To remove the blocks, first remove the retaining spring on the connecting link. This can be done using a pair of pliers and a screwdriver. Slide off the 2 flat washers and the connecting block and remove the connecting link, letting the chain fall loose. Repeat this procedure on the outside chain. Notice that these connecting blocks are numbered. Blocks 1 and 3 are on one side of the machine, and 2 and 4 are on the opposite side. The lowest numbers are the inside chains, and blocks 3 and 4 are the outside chains. Only 1 block needs to be removed on each chain in order to replace the chains. Replacement chains will have platform attachment blocks already mounted to them in the proper locations. The strands of chain are now ready to be removed. Run the chains up to the drive shaft, leaving a foot of chain to hang below the shaft. Always disconnect and lock out the power when not running the machine. Hook the chain to a rope equipped with an S-hook made of wire and lower it to the ground. Repeat this procedure with all 4 chains. To reinstall the chain from the first floor, remove the back guard and run the chain up the back of the machine. It is important that you place the chains to the proper sprockets. Chains 1 and 2 will be on the inside sprockets, and 3 and 4 on the outside sprockets. Keep chains 1 and 3 on their assigned side of the machine, and do the same with 2 and 4. It is essential that the platform blocks be positioned properly with respect to the vertical conveyor. On chains 1 and 2, the tapped holes in the attachment blocks should be leading, and the chain pins should be trailing. On chains 3 and 4, the tapped holes should be trailing, and the chain pins should be leading. Feed the chain down to the bottom and prepare to run the attachment blocks into position for fastening the platform to the chains. You should lower all 4 chains down to this point on the idler sprockets. This way, they should be pretty close to being in time. Note that chains 1 and 2 are positioned at the idler sprocket away from the load opening, while chains 3 and 4 are positioned at the idler sprocket located at the load opening of the lift. It's helpful to connect the outside chain first. This keeps the inside chain from being in the way. Join the chain with the connecting link. Then place the 2 outside links on and the block with the number that corresponds to the chain. Here, the number 4 block is being attached to chain number 4. Note that the rounded corners of the block face the floor, and the tapped holes on the block are trailing. Finally, replace the 2 washers and snap the retaining spring back into place. Repeat this process for all 4 chains. After connecting the chains, remove the slack by tightening the take-ups. Tighten the take-up nut so that this measurement is the same on both sides. Then, tighten the jam nut on top of the take-up nut. To replace the platforms, run the chains into a position that will allow you to fasten the platform to the attachment blocks. Be certain you disconnect and lock out the power after running the machine. Now the platform may be bolted to the chain. Place the platform into the position. When bolting the platform to the attachment block, we recommend that a drop of Loctite be placed on the bolts before replacing them. It is easier to start the bolts by hand, then tighten them. After replacing all of the platforms, be sure to replace all of the guards. Here is an example of a lift running with the chains out of time. Notice the loud banging noise as the platform reaches the infeed belt. The platform is also rubbing against the guard. When the chains are properly timed, the platform should be level. If we stop the lift, lock out the power, and place a level on the platform, we can clearly see that the platform is not level. This is another indication that the chains may be out of time. When timing the chain, this is where you will jump the chain. You may want to jump just a few links at a time. In order to get the timing of the chains correct, the single dot located on the outside chain must be centered between the 2 dots located on the inside chain. Also, the dots on the inner and outer chains on the left side must be directly across from the dots on the chains of the right side. 1 and 3 and 2 and 4 should line up. Lubricating the chains may be done without removing the guards. Lubricating the bearings is easily done using a grease gun. Refer to the maintenance manual for lubricant types and bearing lubrication frequency. All current models of TKF conveyors are equipped with V-guide belts to avoid tracking problems. Earlier models may occasionally require a tracking adjustment. If belt tracking is required, adjust the tail pulley so that its shaft is parallel with the drive pulley shaft. Then adjust the 2 snub rollers to track the belt. This is the clutch brake assembly. This is the clutch, and this is the brake. The brake pad air gap, the distance between the brake pad and the brake coil, should be between 20 thousandths to 1/32 of an inch. It should be uniform all the way around the brake pad. The gap between the clutch coil and the clutch pad should also fall in the range of 20 thousandths to 1/32 of an inch. These settings can be adjusted by loosening the set screw near the shaft. Loosening the set screws also allows you to slide the assembly if a major adjustment is necessary. The torque limiter is adjusted in our shop for the rated load on all lifts that are shipped fully assembled. The adjusting bolts on these units are sealed with yellow paint to show that the unit has been set at the factory. If the torque limiter sprocket slips during normal operation, or if the unit has not been factory set, the torque limiter must be adjusted. Make sure that no loads are on the vertical conveyor. Lock out power at the main disconnect. Loosen the bolts a quarter turn at a time until all 3 bolts can be turned by hand. Keep hands clear of the chain and shaft, as the lifting chains and platforms may move when making this adjustment. Turn the large ring that holds the 3 bolts approximately 1/2 turn clockwise to tighten the torque limiter, or counterclockwise to loosen the limiter. Now tighten the bolts until they bottom out. Test the setting by loading the lift with its heaviest loads. If the torque limiter slips while loading up, remove the loads and repeat the tightening procedure. Once you have adjusted the torque limiter, tighten the 3 bolts a quarter turn at a time until the bolt heads are bottomed out on the plate. Before changing the oil in the gear reducer, have a can ready to catch drained oil. Remove this pipe plug and this pipe plug and drain the oil. When drained, replace the pipe plug. To replace the oil, pull this pipe plug Put the oil in the reducer until reducer oil begins to come out here. When complete, replace both pipe plugs and the job is complete. This is the correct amount of tension for the chain. To adjust the tension on the drive chain, loosen all 4 bolts holding the reducer down. If it is too loose or too tight, correct it by turning these jack bolts clockwise to tighten. To loosen, turn the jack bolts counterclockwise and push the reducer toward the drive shaft. Then turn the jack bolts clockwise until the desired amount of tension is reached. Then tighten the 4 bolts holding the reducer. After your lift has been installed, you must take the bent plug pin out of the vent plug. If it does not have this type of vent plug, there will be a vent plug taped to the reducer. Take the pipe plug out and put the vent plug in its place. Limit switch 1 works in conjunction with the infeed conveyor. The limit switch relates platform position to the infeed belt holding the load. Moving the limit switch down will result in the load being released closer to the lead edge of the platform. Moving the switch up will release the load further back on the platform. Photo I-1, located on the infeed conveyor, detects the load and stops the infeed belt until the next platform is in position. Moving the photo eye back toward the belt will increase the time before the load reaches the platform. Moving it toward the platform will decrease the time it takes to reach the platform. Ideally, to achieve desired load placement on the platform, adjustments are made to both limit switch 1 and photo I-1. Photo I-2, located at the outfeed, is timed to allow the length of a load to pass through it under normal operating conditions. If the eye is blocked for a period longer than it takes a load to cross, it will shut down the conveyor until the load is cleared. Timing can be adjusted by using the timer dial inside. Turning it in the plus direction will increase the time the eye may be blocked. Turning it in the opposite direction will decrease the time the eye may be blocked. The timer is factory set for the maximum length package to be handled on the vertical conveyor.